is going on, 59gamers? My name is Joe Wags, and today I'll be your host for your favorite podcast, the Dokkan Battle Podcast. Our podcast is presented to you by 59gaming, your source for all things gaming, anime, and entertainment related. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things 59. And just a side note, 59gaming is at PAX East right now, so be sure to check out their Twitter, check out their channel. We're doing all kinds of interviews with game developers, so please check them out at PAX. It's a really cool experience there. So today's episode of the Dokkan Battle Podcast is number 79, literally just Pettan. Today we have some amazing guests to help us along in our show. So first, I would like to introduce to you the man of many gotchas, Gal Riot. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, bro. Good to be back, of course. Just got off of watching Spy Family and reviewing it, so I'm in good moods. I'm in a very good mood right now.
Yeah, I have been hearing good things about Spy Family, so I think I definitely have to check that one out myself. Next, we have the master of the slime gotcha himself, Ice Cold Joker. How are you doing today?
Good morning, everyone. I'm also very happy because I also just got done watching Spy Family before this podcast, so we're all doing good today.
All right, well, at this point, I feel like I'm the only one that hasn't seen Spy Family, so I definitely need to go check that out. Next, we have the Super Battle Road King himself, the Masked Ningen. How are you doing?
Yo, what is up, everybody? How's it going? Don't worry, Joe, I haven't watched it yet either, so...
All right, you're with me.
Maybe I'll get on it eventually. But yeah, either way, happy to be here and talk about what's been going on this week in Dokkan, because as we all know, there is a lot.
Oh, so much. And last but not least, we have our JP player here who is just eating up all the content. Inkabe's biggest fan, Minato. How you doing?
So anyways, I've also been watching Spy Family. I haven't seen the episode yet today, but I caught up with the manga like a few weeks ago, and it's so super pog. Yeah, you have to get into it, man. Woo, so good.
I mean, should we just forego the Dokkan podcast and do the Spy Family podcast?
No, why not? I'll be ready. to... That latest manga chapter, though, kind of crazy. Okay, but anyways.
All right. That's another podcast, I think. Check out the Sauce Pot on 59gaming. For all your anime podcast needs there. And then lastly, we do have Vilify behind the scenes producing, doing a great job. Thank you for what you do. Wait.
Vilify, what? Why am I Cabe? What is going on?
Thank you.
Like I said, Vilify is doing a fantastic job behind the scenes, making everything fantastic and perfect as it should be. We have Inkabe's biggest fan here, quite literally, on the podcast.
Okay. So it's funny. So yeah, you should change it back, and,
No.
Yeah.
We're all good.
No,
we're all good. That's perfect.
Stay.
It's perfect.
Okay, well, there you go.
I mean, speaking of that, Minato, we're going to need you to carry us through all this JP content. JP, literally just Pettan. Can you tell us all about the amazing content on JP right now?
Yeah, so Baton Battle. It's a mode where you essentially go in, it's dead. There's nothing to do. Literally just Baton. That's it. There's nothing. It's been dry for a week, guys. I'm suffering. I'm like drowning, but in sand and dirt, not water.
The opposite of drowning.
That's right. On a somewhat serious note, though, is there a new card set at least?
Yes, there's the Future Saga, and then it's like the Turles movie together. It's like, okay, it's cool. At least I get to collect something. But
does that mean anything? Do we have a Future Saga celebration coming? Does Pettan Battle connect to content in any way?
I think that it's just like the Turles, because Turles EZA and
Sure.
the LR Turles being featured. I think that's what is connected.
Okay.
Because usually there's like these hints towards like the small versions, but it's not always. It just my throat is dying. Okay.
I mean, from talking about all this JP content, right? We're
exactly. This is too much.
Dude.
Too much.
It's too much to do. I can't. It's so dry. Oh my goodness.
Bro, drink some water, bro. You
can hear the sand in my voice. I'm actually gonna water, and I'll let y'all handle the global stuff. JP,
right.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say his throat is as dry as JP.
Yeah. So, I mean, while Minato explores the desert that is JP Dokkan to find some water, we will jump into Global here. So, on Global, we have the LR Goten and Trunks EZA. I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on the unit, if you got them grinded out, how you like them. So, Ningen, we'll start with you. How did you enjoy your experience with this unit?
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I had mine rainbowed and fully link leveled, ready for the EZA to come out. As a side kind of note, whilst the foresight for global, which is always seen as one of the big bonuses for playing global over JP, has been a little bit wonky in the last 6 months at least, with things being released out of order and all sorts of stuff like that, banners changing. But the one thing that I still love about the foresight is knowing when easy A's are going to be coming, like which celebration easy A's are going to be coming with, because then it lets me know that I need to start link leveling those particular units so they can be ready just in time. So obviously got my Goten and Trunks to full level 10 links. I didn't really watch many videos on them when the Easy A came out on JP. So when I did my own like first showcase for them, it was kind of like my first real experience with using them. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually tried using them both on the 200% team with Martian Vegeta lead and obviously the 170 lead just on a normal Martian Buu Saga team. And overall, I was very impressed with the attack stats that they're putting out. Their defense after supering is pretty good. Obviously, they can't really be used as a slot 1 unit. But yeah, overall, very satisfied with them. Obviously, we've had some rather duff LR Easy A's that are just, really at the bottom of the tier. And I think these guys are definitely in the upper tier of LR Easy A's that we've had so far.
Yeah, definitely. Very good. I'll talk about my take in a second here, but I was also pretty impressed with them. Joker, what's your take on the Goten and Trunks?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with how they held up. Let's see. Mine is only, I think, 69% right now and not level 10 links. And on the 200% team with the tech Goten that supports Gifted Warriors, he was still putting up like 6.5 million attack stats, which is not bad. Yep. For an easy LR at this point, considering how old they are. But yeah, they carried me pretty well in the Legendary Vegeta event when I took him in. Tanking a super from Evolution Blue Vegeta still hurt a lot, but I mean, unless you're stacking defense, it's going to hurt regardless. So, but otherwise, throughout the entire event, they took double digits after they supered, and double supering then it's hilarious sometimes. So I think they're really good.
Yeah, for sure. Gail, what are your thoughts on this unit?
I like them. I really do like them. I think a lot of people underrated them when they first came out on JP. Of course, people started appreciating them more. And obviously, one of the big things I wanted to use them on was the 200% leader skill with Vegeta, right? Majin Vegeta, that is. So it's been good fun. I think they're really good. I only got them done just like yesterday morning. So only had about 24 hours to use them. But I'm liking them. I'm liking them so far. I'm gonna throw them into some other content as well on lower leader skills to see how they operate there. But on the 200% leader skill, they're doing pretty decent in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. My take on them, I'm in the same boat as Ningen, where like I didn't really watch a lot of videos. I just kind of heard like, that they were pretty good or whatever. So I was kind of using them for the first time and like really looking at them. Mine is rainbowed. Mine were like level 8 and 9 links. I had started link leveling them and then kind of like tossed them off for another unit at some point, but they were still very high link leveled. I did 200% leader skill. And what I was really impressed with is they are just a very easy 18 key unit. That 5 to 10 key at the start of turn is so impressive. I think the one thing I don't like about them is their links are a bit wonky. They can only get like, I think a 4 linking partner is their best partner. And they're not like crazy. I was using like the STR Goten and Trunks, the new one, and I'm not a big fan of them anyways, but kind of using them, they were okay. The big thing with them, like I was pushing out 9 mil attack stats. So like if you're running them as a focus with support, they're hitting really high. The thing with them is they get 150% attack on super. And when you're putting all that on super, supports impact that way more. So I noticed rotations without support, they were dipping down to like 6 mil. But then when they had support, they were like 9 mil. So you really want to keep them supported if you want them to hit hard. And then, yeah, I think they're okay after supering, like they have enough defense, but yeah, you can't put them in slot 1 because they're getting like all their defense on super, right? So they're just kind of that type of unit, but they're like a nuke. Like they hit pretty darn hard. So if you like them, I think you're definitely gonna get some use out of them. Minato, are you back from the desert yet?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this unit? You've had a little bit more time to play with them.
I think they're really good. They're probably in the upper tier of LR EZAs, which is good. It's very, very nice to see that they're actually making these units pretty well. I think they had a good basis already. I would say that, I guess, you guys gave mostly my same thoughts on the unit. So I'm gonna talk about in red zone specifically. I think they're actually pretty strong for red zone because I know a lot of people aren't really that like excited over the medium chance to dodge sometimes. But I think it's a very nice thing to have, especially as a unit like them that they can get like easily 300k plus defense, right? Like without even support or anything. They're just a very good unit that you could have floating on the team. The issue is that again their link set is very bad, so they are regulated to being a floater, but I think that's what their design is meant to be.
Yep.
Just because they get everything on super, they have the dodge for the third slot just in case they can dodge a super attack or something.
Mm.
And their key mechanic, I'm not sure if you guys really like dived into the key mechanic, but I think that's like one of the strongest parts of the unit. Getting 5 to 10 key just like for doing nothing is absurd.
Yeah, I
I
talked
think
about that in my showcase because part of what makes God Goku and Hit so good is they get 6 or 7 key for free. And this unit's 90% of the time going to get at least 6 key or more. And it's like I said, it's actually hard to not 18 key with them. Ningen, it sounded like you were going to chime in a little bit too.
I was just going to say the only thing that is a little bit annoying is obviously the RNG aspect because when I did my showcase for them on the 200% team, I think it was literally like the first 4 turns in a row they only got the 5 key. I think the only time they actually got the 10 was when they were on a rotation with a bunch of key supporting units anyway, so they didn't even need the full 10, which is a little bit annoying, but obviously it is nice. For any LR that gives themselves a bunch of extra key, it is definitely nice.
I mean, that kind of is just like really bad luck because they all had the
Yeah.
same chance, right?
I know.
So that's
Yeah.
that's like the worst case scenario. But
I
getting
know.
5 key at worst case scenario is like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really
That's
good.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
The thing is I don't like RNG on units, but if the RNG is done well, I think it can work, right? So when your
Yep.
floor is still 5 key, like it's not bad because you're
Yeah.
always getting the mechanic. It's like if the RNG was you might get key or you might get no key, then it would be bad. But because you're always getting at least 5 key, I think it's a good mechanic.
Yeah, imagine if you had chance to get key when you take a hit. That would be terrible,
Right.
wouldn't it? What an
Oh,
awful
dear
mechanic
Lord.
that would be.
Right. And then you got to put him in slot 1 to get hit, and he doesn't get defense at start of turn. So yeah, that would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Something we didn't touch on though is what are you guys' thoughts on additional versus crit? Because I know some people, when you're putting additional, you're kind of playing that Russian roulette of, they can lose defense if they get the wrong 12 key super. So does anybody have any thoughts on like how you build them for potential?
Just go for crit and then dodge and then leave
Yeah.
the 5 additional asses.
5 additional? Okay.
It's pretty. I
That-
mean, the 5 additional is what he gets anyway, or they get, I should say.
Yeah.
Anyways, off base. I think you should just leave that as is and then just build them around getting more crit and more dodge, pretty much.
I would
Nah,
agree.
go the Russian roulette build. Just give them full additional. Just roll those dice,
20
baby.
20 additional, there
50%
you go.
chance. Why
That's
not?
right.
I want
That
maximum
fat
damage.
chance, baby.
Well, because if you get the 50% chance to get the fat Gotenks, then obviously they do buff their own defense again.
Yeah.
So their defense would be insanely high. But obviously, jokes aside, I do kind of agree. Like, I don't like taking that risk. I mean, it goes back to pre-Easy A, where both of their 12 key supers debuffed them in some way. So yeah, I even saw people back then who had them at like 55% who didn't give them the level 5 additional because they didn't want them to get an additional super attack. So yeah, definitely crit and then secondary for dodge, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, on mine, I kind of did the middle of the road approach. I did do 11 additional, which is the minimum you can give them without dodge because they already have dodge built in. So I felt like giving them the 6 dodge or whatever. I don't know. I did the 11 additional. So I got a little bit of the roulette going on mine, but we'll see if it bites me in some difficult content in the future. But I think it plays to, because they're kids, they're goofy, and the randomness of what they do in the show. I think it kind of fits their character. I like that they gave them that RNG, but they're still like really good, right?
Yeah. Well, because the thing is as well, like obviously whilst they are debuffing themselves, if you get the skinny Gotenks 12 key super, you are still doing an additional super attack. So I did a run with them in the Legendary Vegeta event, and they got the skinny Gotenks additional super, but they also crit on that super, and then that was enough damage to actually finish off that phase. So it didn't actually matter that they'd debuff their defense. So obviously in the right scenario, it can still be beneficial.
Yep.
Yeah, I evened mine out, so I went. I don't really care about the defensive debuff. They hit very hard regardless, and if they do like what Ningen had and they crit on their additional super, then you don't really have to worry about much. Especially since I think Minto, you went over the calculations last podcast, and the chance of you getting the defensive debuff is actually quite low, regardless.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, it's because like you have to factor that additional split 50-50, then you need it's the other 50-50 by that. So if you have 5 additional, it's like a 1.25% chance or something. So it's like,
So
What are you
odds
really
are you're not
playing
going to get debuffed.
Yeah.
All
pretty
right.
much, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so moving on to their Extreme Z Battle event. I believe the featured team was Gifted Warriors. So, Joker, do you want to tell us about your experience in this event? Do you think it was hard, easy? What do you think?
I don't even remember it because it was that easy.
It was that easy.
Yep.
Don't even remember it. All right. Anybody else just want to have any comments on it, or is the general consensus it's just easy?
Well, Minato, I'd be interested to know your perspective, obviously, from JP. Was it still easy on JP? Because the big thing I noticed from my experience is, obviously, when this EZA came out on JP, they didn't have Margin Vegeta, so they didn't have the 200% like Gifted Warriors team. And that's what I used. And I posted a screenshot of my clear of stage 10. And obviously, in an LR EZA, if you have the Link Legendary Power active, you do more damage. I beat the whole thing with the 200% team with no LRs on the team. Like, it was just that easy, because obviously when it originally came out, it wasn't designed with 200% leaders in mind. So I'd be interested to hear if it was just as easy on JP.
Well, no, because on JP you had to use like Goten or Trunks as your leader, right? Which they're good, but they're not like, Majin Vegeta, right? And especially with the buff. And then like the tech units you have for LRs, you have like Demon King Piccolo, and that was all there is, right? Full power Frieza, like you had to it was kind of weird. Definitely wouldn't be as easy as it was on global. But it wasn't really difficult, right?
I imagine like
Easy
this.
as-
I was gonna say, because I used that team. I didn't take Majin Vegeta's team because I wanted to see how it would be with just the pure Gifted Warriors team. And honestly, full power Frieza alone was just dominating the event absolutely fine. Like, it wasn't even a I didn't have to retry once, which, I mean, sometimes that happens. Like, I think it was the first time we got Legendary Super Saiyan Broly's EZA. That's when I was like, okay, that this gets a little bit hard towards like level 10 and 9. But this time around, even with just the Gifted Warriors team, I just threw full power Frieza. I threw in tech transforming Frieza, golden Frieza, and DKP as the main tech units to deal damage or tank, and it was absolutely fine, and there was no issues whatsoever. It was very easy for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did the same thing. I started with Majin Vegeta, and I'm like, I want the legendary power. So then I just did the physical Goten and Trunks lead, and then a full LR team. And there were some moments where I took some damage. It got a little dicey, but I didn't die once, and I cleared it pretty quickly, so it wasn't too bad. Ningen, were you adding something there?
No, I was just agreeing. Like I say, I think if you
Yeah.
don't have Margin Vegeta, the full power Frieza team, considering like
Oh, yeah.
Gale said, Transforming Frieza, Golden Frieza, all those guys are on the category, so that probably seems like the next best way to go.
Sure. All right. Well, next up, we're going to talk about how Mighty Mask sucks. So, Gale, did you happen to grind up that Super Strike Mighty Mask yet?
I actually just did it like today, a couple of hours back. I haven't had a chance to use them, but I mean, I've seen enough, and I think they'll just probably be there in my box, just lying and collecting dust. Primarily, their primary use being they're adding to my power level, and that's about it. That's literally
There you
True.
go. Power level fodder. Ningen, tell us how Mighty Mask sucks.
He sucks. What's really funny, just as a side note, which I find funny how this happens sometimes. I feel like sometimes the Dokkan community loves a good train wreck, because my Mighty Mask showcase video has like twice the views of the LR Goten and Trunks one. So
Yep.
people just love a disaster, apparently. So the problem with them, they're not like the worst unit in the world in a vacuum. The problem is, if you're going to make a unit that is on like 2 categories, one of which is World Tournament, which is a dead team, like just make the unit crazy good. Like, you actually already mentioned them for a different reason, but LR, God, Goku, and Hit, they're on not a lot of teams. Obviously, they got their
Right.
own new category and everything, but they're the perfect example of a unit that is quite limited, so they're really, really good. And
Yeah.
that's where they kind of missed the boat on Mighty Mask, because he's on one good team, which unfortunately is Majin Buu Saga, which I think we discussed last week and somebody in the chat confirmed is like the biggest category in the game. So are you really ever going to run them? And then I think their best linking partners are the Easy A, Physical, and AGL, Goten, and Trunks, who they share 3 links with, and that's their best link partner. So I just don't understand. Like I said, if you're going to make a super limited unit, I don't necessarily mind that, but like make them good, like make them actually worth running. And as somebody said in the chat, for some reason, Great Saiyan Man in his disguise, he's Gohan. We all know that. So he's on
Right.
Hybrid Saiyans and Goku family, but Mighty Mask is not on Hybrid Saiyans. He has the link Super Saiyan and is not on Super Saiyans. So it's just a very badly designed unit in almost every single aspect, unfortunately.
I mean, one of many things that Dokkan needs to fix. Later on, when we're talking about something with the viewer questions, I have a lot of issues with how Dokkan names units that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, there's a lot of naming issues, and I think there's a lot of category issues, things like that. And another example of what you're talking about, Negan, with units that are limited but very good, I think Ginyu would fall into that as well, because you run him on the Ginyu team and he is busted as all heck, right? Minato, very important question for you. Inkabe or Mighty Mask? Who's better?
Ooh. Inkabe.
Well, you're his biggest fan. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were gonna
He's
say
biased.
That, right?
He is
Yeah.
right, though, to be fair.
He
but-
is right. Yes, he is right. Joker, do you have anything to add?
Not really, because I haven't finished grinding them up because they're such trash. But I also didn't realize the missions just gave you a whole bunch of
Oh,
SSR
no.
copies of him.
Oh,
So
no.
I went and grinded
You
like
grinded
all
a
the
bunch.
copies and all the medals, and then I went and
Yeah.
collected the missions. And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I got lucky noticing that just as I was about to start farming. I think I already used one boost anyways, but that just helped in
Oof.
SA level, thankfully. But I
Boost?
was like, ooh, switch that real quick. I mean, hey,
Fortunately,
listen. The main thing is, while the unit itself wasn't good, the
You
event
used a
did give a
boost
lot
to
of stones.
farm
Yes.
Mighty Mask.
The event did give a lot of stones.
That is
I'm
true.
just saying, well
You
worth it in
used-
my opinion.
A boost to farm Mighty Mask.
It's all right.
hey, look, boost is good for cutting time on things you don't want to do. So,
Exactly.
but the thing I do like about the mission structure is, like Gail said, obviously you get a lot of stones out of it. So if you're listening out there and you haven't done it yet, obviously you've just heard us all talk about how terrible he is. Still do the actual grind to get him maxed out and everything, because you do get, I think it's like 22 or 23 stones or something in total, and none of the missions require you to actually rainbow him, so you don't have to waste any of your own orbs. You just have to open the paths, which I think the mission for opening the first path gives you like 3 extra copies, so you can just use them to open up the other ones. Some of the missions give you the medals that you need to awaken the SSR, like the SR into an SSR. So make sure you check the missions carefully beforehand, because I think you can get away with beating all of the stages once, and then the final stage, as long as you do the missions for beating it with an Android team and beating it with an Android 18 on the team, I think you only have to beat the final stage, the 4th one that gives you the Easy A medals. You actually only have to beat that stage 3 times. And then because you've done all the missions, that gives you all of the medals and everything that you need. So make sure you check those missions first. And then, you don't actually have to do that much of a grind, and you do get some pretty decent rewards. So even though
I'm
the
so
card
glad you
sucks,
just-
make sure you do it.
I'm so glad you just mentioned those EZA medals, because I was about to do that.
Yeah, because there's a mission
Literally sitting here
for-
ready
it's
to do
like,
it.
Beat it with an Android team, beat it with
Yeah.
Android 18 on the team, and beat it in 5 turns or less. So just literally build your strongest Android team with 18 on the team, and you'll beat all of those missions in like one run. And then you only have to do it
I-
like 2 more times. So
Yeah, I think you only need to do it a total of 3 times. So
Mhm.
it's not that serious. Like, it's really, really quick, surprisingly.
And one of the things I do like as well is the fact that those missions are retroactive. So if you're an older player like me, I already had him awakened at SA 15, and I think I'd already opened like 2 of his paths. So as soon as the event went live, a bunch of those missions auto completed, and that meant I didn't actually have to farm any copies of the card, because a bunch of the mission rewards are the extra copies. So I do like that going forward, because it means obviously we know every Super Strike is going to be like this going forward. So if you want to come at it completely fresh, you don't have to do that much grinding. Or if you do find yourself with nothing to do in like the few days leading up to when the next one releases, you can farm out like 1 or 2 extra copies, and then once the event goes live, you're gonna auto complete like half the missions. So I do like that.
The one thing I will say
Uh,
as well, like doing this event and the way they handled the EZA stage for it, I wish they would have just done this for every other free to play unit, abandon the easy areas. This is so much better. The way they've organized, the way you get the copies, the medals and stuff, it's
Yeah.
just so much easier and nicer. It's just more, it's not a chore. It doesn't feel like a chore. And that's what I want. I mean, Dokkan needs to be in a space where it's not, you don't feel like it's a chore playing the game. And whenever you do an easy area, even though the unit might be great after that easy area, you look at the number of free to play LRs and stuff, but I'd rather it be the way they did it with the Super Strike units. And I know they won't do it because easy areas are now an integrated part of the game, but I just wish it was like that, man, because this is the way they should have been doing it for the longest, for sure.
The one thing I
Yeah,
will
it-
say that took me by surprise though is the that actual 4th stage, the one to get the easy A medals. I was quite surprised at how hard hitting that stage is. So I don't know what that would be like for a newer player, because I know obviously he had type disadvantage and is a slightly older unit. But I was running the Android team, and my Rainbow level 10 Lynx AGL Android 13 took like 250k from a super attack, which I
Yeah.
was not expecting. So that was quite a surprise.
Yeah, it's not a pushover stage by any means. That's why it's good you don't have to run it 3 times, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in terms of like, should you grind this unit or not? Like my message to basically all players is, I think every free to play unit you should grind them out. You don't necessarily have to put the orbs in and rainbow them right away, but they're all worth grinding, even if they're bad, because at some point they could be required for another really good easy A. You
Yep.
don't want to see yourself stuck, maybe not being able to get that unit. We all remember the fiasco with, well, I guess that was a little bit different, but there was that fiasco with the STR Krillin where like if people bought him out and didn't actually have him,
Yep.
you couldn't
Yep.
do it because the unit was gone. That's kind of a different scenario, but you gotta take every free to play unit seriously now. You can't just like Baba them. You can't.
I mean-
you gotta grind them all out.
The
Yeah.
thing about that that's so funny
Yes.
is that it was fixed. Like JP when Curly came out,
Oh,
they
yes.
instantly had it available, right? You
Yes,
can buy more
Global took
copies.
forever.
Global had to wait for the
Um,
update. That's so funny to me. But
One-
I would, yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say the thing is that a lot of you players, just in general, JP or Global, doesn't matter. A lot of you guys don't farm these units right, and then you're like, "There's no content." And then when you need to use these units, you're like, "Oh my god, I have to farm these free to play units." Bah, 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 bah.
Yeah, I
Well,
was
that-
just gonna say
Oh my goodness, like,
because they
chill.
could easily release. Yeah, no, they could easily release an LR where you require these super strike units. I mean, they could do something where they used to do. Remember back in the day when Tech LR Prime Battle Goku, you had to use these super strike units for him and his farm. So it's not impossible that they could do something like that again, and that's why they've been pumping these super strike units out like no tomorrow, effectively.
Yeah, and we'll circle around back to that because that actually is one of our Twitter questions for later. So we will dive into that a little bit more as well. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to jump in. So Global got this very interesting producer letter. And basically they let out all of the results from the survey. So we're going to kind of just look at those kind of one question at a time, kind of get our thoughts on, does it mean anything? What do we think it'll mean for the future? Things like that. So the first question here was about our thoughts about high difficulty events, and it was pretty overwhelming. About 57% said they would like more types of difficult events. So, Ningen, what are your thoughts on this first question? What do you think it means for the game? What do you think Dokkan will do based on this question?
The difficult events one.
Yes, the difficult events one.
I don't know. This one is interesting because the thing I talked about when I covered this is the fact that sometimes Global acts like the JP version doesn't exist, or at least that Global players don't know about the JP version. So they're in, I think one of the things they say is that they are preparing new difficult events. So I don't know if that does actually just partly reference the red zone. It could mean, obviously, with Golden Week coming up, which should hopefully, by all estimation and based on last year, be a dual celebration on both versions at the same time. One thing that we see happen quite a lot, which I was thinking about earlier before we got together to start this, was the fact that, you know how sometimes when we get a dual celebration, we get like a new Infinite Dragon Ball History stage, which obviously technically then for global is being released out of order, and then like we just had, then a new one comes out and the numbers kind of shuffle around and get updated. So I wonder if this could mean potentially something like for the Golden Week celebration, they add a new stage to the red zone. But obviously for global, that means that would be us getting the red zone for the first time, like before the anniversary. Because obviously it's not out of the question. They've very often released mechanics or things that have come out on the anniversary on JP early on global. So I wonder if it could be in reference to that. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. I mean, we've talked about in the past what they could do for more difficult content. And we've seen with things like, you know, when Extreme Super Battle Road first came out, and obviously now the Red Zone, a lot of it is kind of just turning up all the numbers for damage and then limiting the number of items that you have. So I'm not really sure the best way, because obviously we can all say, oh, you know, I'd like them to do more difficult events but with more creativity than just, you know, cranking up all the numbers. But then at the same time, I don't know if I really have any like really great practical solutions to how exactly they can do that. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see what exactly this means. And obviously shout out to the 8% that the said that the difficult events are too difficult.
My guess is that it's literally just the red zone for the anniversary, because they speak.
That is disappointing though if it is.
When they make these, they are thinking from the global perspective, which global doesn't even have red zone, which is like a step above the difficulty. So I'm presuming that's what they're talking about, right? Because global doesn't even have like you know, at the moment. Well, they're getting the update right for the like auto training and auto easy finally, right?
Yep.
But that's like in a few days. But like they don't even have stuff like that, so I'm pretty sure they're talking about red zone specifically, which would make sense to me.
Yeah, a quick side note on the auto training you mentioned, just for global players to know, when you're link leveling now, you should save your Cybermen, and you can actually use them to train now, because you can slot in 99 of them to train, and you can actually save you training items. So that's what I'm looking forward to with that.
It's not even just 99. You can slot in all of them, like
all
over
of them,
99.
yeah, just a ton of them, yeah. So then you can just max your units out with Cybermen, which is awesome because they were clogging up my box, right? Does anybody else want to comment on the difficult event part?
I want to point out something, right? We say that it is like if you look at the pie chart, right, it looks like it's an overwhelming positive thing. Like, yeah, we want 57% of us want the more difficult content, which is true. But if you look at the other three options, that's still like about 43%, which is a lot closer than most people would presume it to be. So I think they will definitely still look at it and be like, okay, it's still kind of like in the middle. Like Minato said, I think it is more focused towards, the red zone is happening. But I do think they'll also take that into consideration where they're looking like, okay, 43% of the player base realistically doesn't want harder content than what is already in the game as well. So I think they're gonna balance it out a lot more, and as a result, they'll have to accommodate to both sides. So that's also something to take note of. It's not as spread apart as the pie chart may show it, I should say. It's a lot closer than you think.
For sure. So okay, I'm actually looking at the actual Twitter here. So I don't know if the order is the same as on our outline, but I'm just going in the order of the slides. So the next one on the slides is about the friend function. I know when we talk about friend system, friend function, like people are getting excited, like we want that friend system update, but I don't think this is actually going to pertain to the friend system update we all want. The info we got is that 43% said they didn't. The bad thing is they didn't give us an option to pick like fix the friend system. The option was I would like to team up with friends, and that's the one that people picked the most of. I think it was 43%. Joker, what are your thoughts on the friend function question? What do you think it's going to mean moving forward?
I don't know. I feel like every time they want to bring up a question regarding the friend system, they actively avoid the one thing that we really want them to do.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. Like, I don't know how hard it is to actually reprogram the friend function. Obviously, it would take a gigantic rehaul, but as far as like how much time, how much effort that would be, I don't know. I'm not a developer. I don't do that kind of thing. But literally, the entire community is screaming for this update. And Dokkan's like, meh. Let's ask some other questions about using friends, but not in the way that everyone wants. So the fact that they're doing this in such a roundabout way, I'm not a fan of, and it doesn't give me a lot of hope for the future. But it's just kind of sad how they don't want to do what we want them to do when they literally do almost everything else that we want them to do eventually, besides World Tournament.
Yeah, and Minato, I want to get your thoughts on this, and more specifically, what do we do with the 22% of people that want PvP? Because I think those people need to go to a doctor or
Get
something.
in the sea.
Go play Legends.
Go play Legends, please. The 22%. But Minato, what do you think about the friend function question?
So we find them and then we take them out.
All right,
In a video game.
Say, tell them to go play Legends, play all these old Dragon Ball fighting games. Like, it doesn't need to be in Dokkan, right? Anybody else want to just share thoughts on the friend function question? Anything you think might come of it?
I mean, I think
Anybody-
it's just something that we've talked
Yeah.
about before with the B and C kind of stuff. We've talked about
Mhm.
various ideas from other gachas like guild concepts and like co-op raids and stuff like that. That is the kind of thing that I would like to see, because I'm pretty sure for this one, the one that I picked is the would like to team up with friends, because I do think that kind of thing would be pretty cool as long as it's implemented in the right way. So I think that would be good.
Yeah. Because the
Yeah.
thing is, I just want to add as well. I mean, they technically, well, it's not really with friends right now, but they already have something where you can team up with other players, and that whole co-op missions thing that they do in every big celebration, right? So I wonder, are they just gonna change that to like, oh, you can do it with your friends or something, so, which isn't like what we exactly want here. The problem is they've made this question way too like broad / vague, so it's really hard to like judge like how do they expect us to, how do they because we will perceive it as one way, like, oh, we're thinking of like, friend raids and stuff like that, but they could be thinking something much more simpler than what we're thinking. So that's also another issue I have with this specific question. And if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, Minato, you can tell me this question was exactly the same on JP's survey as well, right? Because I remember Truth talking about this like months back, I feel, at this point.
Yep. It's the exact same, right? Where they don't give you
Yeah.
the option about changing the friend system. They're more so like, hey, do you want co-op to work with other people? That's what you want, right? You don't want, to use the teams
Yep.
that you want. Oh,
Mhm.
oh my goodness.
Yeah,
plus
so go ahead.
I was just going to say, the thing they say, it's like in the actual comments, it's like many of you are playing while sharing information with friends and other players. So we're going to implement features. It's kind of like that, again, makes me think of something like the guild system. And obviously the fact they've introduced the whole new power level thing. And when you go into the friends list, you can look at your friends' power levels. That's the kind of thing that seems to be hinting at when it says like a bunch of you are playing while sharing information with other players. So I think more in-game stuff like that is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, they use the specific wording, invite friends to complete missions together. So that makes me think some event where you can go in with a friend, do an invite or like a random invite, and you complete a mission live where you're taking turns, maybe setting up a rotation and attacking or something like that. But I think that's the key here, is something that we can do live where I could actively, like, I could call up my brother who plays Dokkan and say, hey, let's do some co-ops together. Because I played the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and they have that heavily implemented in theirs where co-ops are a big thing. You can join random people and you're fighting live. So I think they're going to come up with something like that. I don't know what it would be. I do think raids probably make the most sense, but not like the raids that they're currently doing where it's like everyone does their own thing and then we combine our scores. Something where like, we have a boss with hit points and let's all go in together and try to kill the boss type of thing. So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, we all really want that actual friend system update. So who knows if that'll actually come or not, right? Okay, so next question is reasons why you want to include a character on the team. And I think I heard a little bit of something about what this might be leading to, but 43% said they want to check the character's performance, so I can build a team that includes the character and play difficult content. So obviously kind of like showcases, testing out characters, things like that. And then 31% was the second, that was pretty high as well, that people want to see the animations, they want to build a team focus around that character, and then just do various events regardless of the difficulty. They just want to enjoy the character. Now, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they say something about possibly implementing like a training dummy event where you could just set up a scenario and fight?
Yes.
So who wants that? Minato, can you share about that or what we know about that? And do you
Well-
think that this is what it's relating to?
I would say it's not related.
Okay.
I think that there's different things, right? Because the event they said like, do you want a sandbox event, right? Basically, in one of the in the most recent JP survey, they asked about that, which is very interesting, right? I mean, essentially, right now our sandbox is like the legendary GT Goku event or the Vegeta
Yep.
event, right? That's like our sandbox, right? Because the events could take a lot of turns, right?
Yep.
But I would say that this is different. This is more so like, why people are summoning for these units. In a sense, you could relate it to that too. Or
Sure.
why people would use certain units, right? Like, there's like for example, that 31%, a lot of people maybe just really like Eijo Gohan's animations, and he's the most used character in the game,
Yep.
stuff like that, right? The character, right? And there's of course the majority, slight majority is what they state, but there's the 43% who want the units because of their performance, right? Which makes a lot of sense, right? Well, you could see that there is still a third of the community that really cares mostly for the animations, and that's definitely the more casual player base, which is it's nice to see there because animations are very, very important, and you could tell, like like with Raditz, that came on JP right now, his animations were not on par with other units, so that's something else that like really encapsulates into, like, look, you see 43%, 31%, that's like 74%, almost like 3/4 of the player base who wants good kit and then good units. And it's funny because Raditz has none of those, so it's like, okay, well, you can see how he did terribly, right? Especially with not being a fan favorite character. There's a lot of things that you could really look at that chart and tell, okay, why sending Sue. I mean, pretty common sense, right? But it's nice to see the actual numbers there.
I think it's
Sure.
interesting because I said when I was talking about this as well, like it's interesting to hear you say about like the casual player thing, because I think it does kind of extend to the like the other side of the scale as well, right? Because if you think about players like us, obviously we're slightly like slanted differently because we create content. But if I didn't create content, so obviously I don't need to pull the new unit so I can make videos. A lot of the time I will just summon for a unit, like say for example Majin Vegeta. When the details of his kit came out, obviously, we can all agree he's a good unit, bit of a wonky design. So when his details came out, there were obviously some people who straight away started saying, oh, he's not very good, like he's not worth summoning for. But for someone like me, like I really like Vegeta's my favorite character. I love Majin Vegeta. I thought the animations were good, so I'm gonna summon and get a copy of him just because I want to have him. I don't need him because my account, I can beat all the content in the game, so I don't need any units, but I just wanted him because he was cool. So even for the like long time players, I can kind of understand the animation answer as being quite as high as it is.
For sure. Anyone
Yeah,
else want to chime in on this one? Go ahead.
it's like the thing is that like especially if you're summoning, right? Spending money on the game like that, right? It's like if a character just doesn't at this point, like Red Zone is different, right? But like any other form of content, I would argue is just literally just easy. Extreme super battle or anything, unless you're doing no item runs. The fact they have like 4 items in those stages make it a cakewalk. Like people beat ESPR with Blue Gao and Goku. That shows you like it's not really as difficult as people would think if you have the correct setups. So that's why at this point a lot of it is because of the animations. And if the character's animations doesn't look good, I just feel way less inclined to summon. That's really it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
I even-
people. No,
Go ahead, Ningen. Go ahead. You're good.
I was just going to say, people want to see those great moments that they love from the show or the movies, like animated in the game, especially now with the fact that we are, especially when you think about how old the anime is for like early Z arcs and like some of the early movies. Like the animation in Dokkan literally looks better than the actual source material. So if it's like, a moment that is one of your favorite moments in Dragon Ball, like you're probably just going to summon for that unit, even if they suck. So
That's why we need a new Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, because we don't have the Father Son Kamehameha.
Right.
Yeah, we need it, right? But really though, we do need that with the voice. I'll just put that in there.
For sure. Yeah, I was saying too, even with easy events like Dokkan events where like the new unit comes out and you got to get 77 medals and you got to run 11 times, a lot of people probably just like to auto battle that. But I see that as my opportunity, even though they're fast and they're easy. I will run like a different team each time just so I can like see my animations and use teams that I don't use all the time and just use my characters. So I even see easy events like that as an opportunity for me just to use my teams really quick. So I kind of like that as well. All right. Any other thoughts on the reasons why you want to include a character on the team question?
I will say though, just as a like final point, the one that did kind of surprise me is that 21% said the character works well with other characters on the team. Like, I don't know if it's just the way it's worded, but that seems like a weird answer to me. Like, if my favorite team in the game was, let's say, Majin Buu Saga, and I saw the details for Majin Vegeta, and I didn't really think he was that great, otherwise I would have picked B. Or I didn't really think his animations were that great, or I would have picked A, but I just thought he'd work really well on my Majin Buu Saga team, so I summoned for him. I don't know why, that one just seems kind of odd to me, but...
Well, I mean, there is this situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be the main unit, but it could be, say, the banner unit helps out massively.
Yeah, that is true.
Goten and Trunks is an invalid option, but let's say you look at in third from Frieza, right? Really good option for any sworn enemies team. So you build it using, maybe the Majin Buu's team or whatever, and you can just chuck in Frieza in that team. Not necessarily going to link well, but he's going to give that support.
We gotta say that another thing is that, like I said, what I was talking about earlier is I said specifically when you have the correct setups. Not everyone will have every single unit with correct setups and stuff like that, right? Some people may need a certain unit to beat a super battle road stage, like, maybe you don't have S tier Super Vegito, and you get him, he works well with the team, and he's your key to beating that stage, right? I think that's what that question could mean.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For sure.
Plus, it makes more sense, I guess, for a lot of smaller categories as well, because Majin Buu Saga is definitely not the good example. But yeah, smaller teams that definitely need the help. If that's a team that you like to run, then I guess that could be a good reason to summon for a new unit, just because they're going to buff that team. So,
I mean, a perfect example right now, which is live on Global, are the type units. They're not necessarily amazing in terms of animation, nor are their kits like amazingly up to date at this point in time in the game, but they're great supports. So, you could slide them into teams here and there, and they fit well with other characters like SGR Hit with, Hidden God Goku. Amazing team together, right? So that's a perfect example, I would say.
For sure. All right, well, let's move on to the next one. This one I think is a pretty spicy question. So it's our expectations for the international version in the future, and this was overwhelming. 66% want to have characters implemented at the same time as the JP version. Now, I'm going to say my opinion is they're not talking about actually syncing the games up. I think they're just saying do more things like Golden Week and the worldwide celebration, but you guys can tell me if you disagree with that. Joker, what are your thoughts on the sharing events with the Japanese version?
I think it's better for the game. I think that Global is going to be in a much better spot, happiness-wise, staying behind, because that means we potentially won't lose the tickets and we won't lose all like the foresight and everything. But them holding celebrations at the same time still works out for everyone, because we got Golden Week last year. GT, Goku, and Vegeta are still very good units. We got Worldwide Celebration together, and Namek, Goku, and Full Power Frieza are still very good units, and everyone gets to celebrate at the same time. And, Ningen and I are not left to just sit here and salivate over all the new upcoming units that are so good and 200% leaders. And, 4 or 5 months down the line, we finally get to use them. But also the content's kind of dry because they've been out for 5 or 6 months. So I think this helps a lot of people if they start bringing other celebrations together, not just like the big time ones. Other than that, I mean, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, as a global player, the thing I hate most is seeing like a new hype unit, and then by the time we get them, not only is my hype down on the unit, but the unit actually is worse because we could have gotten a different same time celebration that like surpassed that unit, and then when that actual unit comes out, it's like, oh, well, now they're there, I guess, and you don't really care about them as much. So I think we've said this before, but it benefits everyone to have units come out at the same time, because Global doesn't have the time to prepare. We don't have time to plan our Dragon Stones. So we're going to spend more money. It's going to surprise us and be really cool. I think LR Goku was one that really got me. He was a Global first, but stuff like that, when you surprise Global, like, you're going to make more money, right? The real question here is, Minato as a JP player, what are you going to do with these 22% that want Global exclusive stuff? What are we going to do with them?
Dude, the same thing with the friend system people. I just
It's the same 22%
There's
that
no-
want PvP.
Should we
Yeah.
send them to Legends? Just send them to Legends?
it's literally just like what I don't get the argument for either version having exclusive content. But like, what's the point? What do you have a moral high ground? Like, I get something that you don't. It's like, that's okay. This is a
For, like,
mobile
couple of
Dragon Ball
months at
game,
most,
dude.
yeah.
It's like, does it really matter if it's exclusive? Just have it come to
Yeah.
both versions. Make the entire player base happy. I don't get it. Like, there's already some like slight exclusive stuff, like Pilaf's Trove, right? But if they make actual content that's exclusive, that's where it becomes an issue. And I
Yeah.
know for sure the JP player base probably won't be too happy, considering they see some global first stuff, like when Tech Broly came out on JP on
Mhm.
global.
Yeah.
Things were crazy, right? So I don't think they would ever really do that, especially considering that it is like how much is it? It's 8%, right? So that's a very small minority of people that want that. So I wouldn't. I would say it probably wouldn't come into fruition. However, stuff at the same time as JP is fine. And they do state in the actual letter itself, they have plans for campaigns that'll be held simultaneously, and they're considering increasing it. So maybe Tanabata is same time, right? In the future, right? Maybe they can make pretty much. I think the last big thing that would need to be synced up would be Anniversary and Tanabata, right? Those are things that on both
Well-
versions aren't same time. Right. They could do 2 anniversaries or anything, right? Like they could sync up stuff like that. I think it could be very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, at some point, if you sync up enough celebrations, I mean, eventually the whole game is going to feel like it's synced up, right? If they just keep adding
Yeah.
more and more. So even though it's not directly saying that, it could actually lead to that, because eventually it's going to be so close where it's like, oh, there's only like 3 celebrations that we're not doing at the same time, so let's just do them all at the same time, right? I think the anniversary is
yeah.
going to be the biggest hurdle to get over, because they would have to celebrate 2 different anniversaries to make that happen for real.
I mean, but what they could do is just get rid of the worldwide celebration, right? Just scrap
They could just
that
move
out
that
of
up
there.
a month and
Yeah,
then
and
make
make
that
that
the
the
anniversary,
anniversary.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
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 I don't see an issue with that, right?
Or
That's
could just
something-
Tanabata be the global anniversary? I mean, that's kind of in that
Nah,
time
well,
slot, right? It's not as hype, I know.
I
but
mean,
Well, it's a single LRDFE, so
Yeah.
So-
there will be just too many
yeah, because
DFLRs at the time.
Vilify chat saying streams died.
So I think our stream is back on. Sorry about that. It looks like we cut off for a minute. So we were just in the middle of talking about the idea of the joint global and JP. I don't remember who was talking. I think we were all kind of talking about having the anniversaries join up at some point. So I don't know. Does anybody want to continue that thought, or are we ready to move on?
I mean, I would say that it would be a little weird with Tanabata, like Gail said, right? So we'd have to wait and see, I guess. But I'm sure they could figure something out, right?
The main issue I have is you try and juggle around all of this, but you also have to remember we have a lot of like singular Dokkan Fest exclusives, which will also get affected by it. I mean, we've already seen Global being affected by them chucking stuff around here and there, left, right, and center, right? To me, I feel the best way. I mean, they didn't even include it as an option, so there was no way. I think I put it as another option. I'm probably part of the 4% who put in the other option. I just said personally, I think it should just stay consistently behind. That's probably the best way to do it. Because the thing is, for me personally, the way I perceive it, right, is a lot of the times whenever there is whenever you try and as this is just me coming from seeing other gacha games do it, there's so many gacha games out there that have tried to do the same thing and have failed miserably, and it's when they try and get this sync going on and try and match the versions together, it just never works out necessarily. And we've seen how many times Global's messed up on various maintenance updates and stuff like that. And even though it's the same update as JP, they've somehow screwed it up in some way. For me, I think the best way to handle it is just staying consistently behind, but that's my perspective. Of course, I do understand the positives, of course, of having stuff happening at the same time. I enjoy it tremendously as well. But knowing how Dokkan is and knowing what other gachas have done and how they've achieved it, and knowing Akatsuki and their past endeavors in doing stuff like this, I personally prefer it if they were just sticking behind consistently. that way there's no stress on them, trying to figure out what the schedule is. There's no stress on us players, worrying about like, oh, is this, update gonna mess up or something of that sort. I just feel that's the easiest way to go about it. But that's just me personally.
Boo! Boo, Gale.
I was going to say, I'm kind of in the camp that I would want to be synced up just because for me, I know that there's Foresight, global tickets, all that stuff. But for me, the hype of getting stuff at the same time, I would just like that a lot more. Even though Gale's plan of staying behind is actually much better for my wallet. So I'll take either or. My wallet appreciates knowing Foresight and getting global exclusive tickets. But yeah. Anyone else want to chime in on this one before we move on?
Yeah, so I was waiting to hear what everybody else had to say because I have been discussing this with a bunch of different people on Twitter and stuff since the results came out. Something that has already been mentioned is the fact that if you think about it, we have, was it like 4, I don't want to say major, but like we have 4 major celebrations that are at the same time as JP at the moment, which is Saiyan Day, Golden Week, Heroes, and the worldwide download celebration. And obviously what they're saying in the results of this is that they plan to add more. So I'm assuming we can only assume that means more than just those 4. So as somebody already said, once we get to a point where like half the year or more is same time celebrations, then we are starting to get to that point where they might as well just sync everything up. And I do like the idea that, as we said, is something like the worldwide download celebration that could quite easily be brought forward a month, and that celebration could be rebranded as the global anniversary, but it's still a same time celebration for both versions. And then the JP anniversary is a same time celebration for both versions in February. And both versions just get the same unit. So it would be the same thing as JP gets now, but we would also get those units in February. And then in July, that's when we would then get the download celebration. So obviously last year it would be the Namek stuff with Goku and Frieza. That would then come out on both versions at the same time. I think it would be good. Obviously, for me personally, like for selfish reasons, like the hype and obviously being a content creator, like covering stuff that's actually new is much better. But I also think some of the things that I see people say a lot based on assumption, because obviously I see a lot of people say like matter of factly that if they sync the games up then global will lose tickets, but we don't know that that's true. And in fact this previous the most recent Saiyan Day is actually the first time that this has happened. Is it was obviously on both versions at the same time, but global still got the exclusive tickets that you can buy from the shop. So that is the first example of there being a dual celebration, but we actually still kept the global exclusive stuff that we would expect to get when, like, you know, a normal Dokkan Fest comes out 3 months later and we get those tickets to buy. So obviously we don't know what's going to happen. If they do decide to sync it, they could decide to take those tickets and stuff away. But I don't know. It kind of all depends on the trade-off. Obviously for free-to-play players or people who don't spend as much, like Foresight definitely can be very useful. But as I said earlier, when we were talking about, you know, Foresight being good for knowing which units to easy A, we've seen a lot of stuff recently with global switching around celebrations and then changing banners because of that, which then completely ruins the Foresight plan, because we actually did mention it on a previous episode back when that celebration dropped. But for me personally, I wasn't that bothered about summoning for AGL Trunks. So I went super hard summoning for Janemba, because based on the JP schedule, Trunks should have been next, and then it would have been the tech androids, who I did really want. So I went crazy hard for Janemba because I didn't care about Trunks, and then they dropped the androids next on global. So I had to buy a bunch of extra stones because I'd used up all the ones that I probably would have saved if I knew that the androids were coming out next. So unfortunately, sometimes that Foresight actually almost works in reverse because they just randomly change things sometimes. So whilst there are like pros and cons on both sides, I do think some people get a bit too matter of fact about like this thing will happen if they sync, or like this thing will happen if they don't. But we don't really actually know that. And hopefully if they were going to do it, they would implement it well. Because like, to touch on Gale's point, I don't think we should say like, oh, they shouldn't do it because that it's been done badly in the past. We should hope that they are going to do it, but they would actually do it well, hopefully. But I guess
This
yeah.
is Akatsuki.
Well, yeah, hey, who knows? Who knows, right?
I'd love to have that faith, but even other gacha companies that have notoriously been good in the past, have failed to do it. So that's the
Yeah.
only reason why I'm saying, like, it's just not, it's never been feasible in the past, and I don't trust Akatsuki doing it. It's all I'm saying.
I just like to
Like,
take the glass half full mentality.
yeah, I think there's a lot of ways they can do it, because I was just thinking about it right now. You could easily shift Tanabata and make that like the New Year's singular Dokkan Fest LR, and can be on both versions. That's the New Year's banner for both games. Worldwide celebration can be in June/July, and that's the global anniversary plus Tanabata for JP. So, you know, they're celebrating both at the same time. February can be, of course, you know, JP anniversary, and global can celebrate at the same time, and so on and so forth. I think there's ways to go about it. It's just that when you look at the rest of the game and how the rest is handled in terms of the content releasing, you see SBR coming at random times, ESBR coming at, you know, like they've already given us the news piece for ESBR for Universe 7, which when did that come out on JP? Like just like for same day. So it's just so randomly how fast we're getting stuff or how slow we're getting stuff. And if they do sync it up, and in that process of syncing it up, and it, you know, maybe the end goal might, you know, make it really good, but the process to get there is going to be hellish for global players, is what I'm perceiving it as well.
Yeah, because the consistency is a bit weird. Because sometimes back in the day, because I've been, you know, I'm past my 2,000 days login at this point. So back in the day, it was almost like a solid 5 to 6 months that Global was behind. But sometimes now stuff comes out like literally 2 months later, which is obviously cool. And then other things actually do almost take like the full 5 to 6 months. So even the actual how far behind Global is sometimes very inconsistent, which is kind of annoying.
Right, like how quick we got the tech androids, but now how long we're going to have to wait for the Raditz celebration, which I'm not excited for Raditz, but I'm excited for Turles. I want the Turles, so I have to wait forever to get my Turles, you know what I mean? And this LR banner update, which is pretty hype too, if they continue that, which I know we talked about last week. But all right, we're going to move on here. The next question, not like the craziest hype question, but it's just our expectations for the producer's letter. 58% said that they want information about new characters and events. I think in general, people are saying, yeah, we would like to hear about new characters on these producer letters before they get leaked, and it would be pretty hype. Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
I think if they change these producer letters into just an addition to a Dokkan now, I think that would be pretty good, because then we can get, you know, the results of the survey from Koto, and then we can also, like, at the very end, it's like, and by the way, here is a teaser for the next upcoming celebration, or, you know, the intro animations for whatever unit's coming. I think they can combine those together and it will still work really well.
I'd say it's just kind of straightforward, right? You know, it's like, oh, do you want more communication, more character info on characters? Not really anything you could really speculate on it. Just straightforward. That's what it is, right?
Yep.
Just someone teach them that if they are going to do, because we love extra communication, it's great, but someone needs to teach them that if they're going to do like Dokkan Now and stuff, stop putting the stuff in the data download like 6 hours before it comes out.
Right.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I know that they should be more aware of it, and it's the same point as the whole, oh, they're looking at from the global perspective, so they're just ignoring anything that happens on the JP side, or they're assuming we ignore stuff on the JP side. It's just like they don't want people to look into the data download or anything of that sort. But it's like, we're going to look at it. You know we're looking at it. You've seen the videos come out by everybody, but why are you still doing it, kind of thing, right? That's the main problem.
Yeah, because this is the thing I was saying about, like, when we were talking about the upcoming difficult content, is it's like sometimes, like Minato said, and like you're kind of addressing with this point, is sometimes they act like Global doesn't know JP exists, but then literally in this survey they ask questions based on like the release of units on JP. So it's like they simultaneously know that the global player base knows what's going on JP, and then at the same time thinks they don't know what's going on JP.
Yeah. It's like they just want to have a blind eye, and that's the problem I think a lot of people have with Akatsuki and the way they're handling it right now. Is just like, we know what you're doing, but it's like, why are you turning a blind eye to us?
Shout out to Koto though, because I will say again, being a long time player, the communication on Global specifically, like a couple of years ago, was basically non-existent. So
nothing communication.
Exactly. Our communication came from the French data miners. They were our go-to, right? Exactly. All right. Well, let's move to the last slide, and this is probably the most hype slide on there. But It basically said that they're going to give us new information on the next campaign on 4/24, which should be tomorrow. It just says 4/24 PST, but it doesn't give us any time. So is it going to just release at midnight PST? If anybody knows, let me know. But basically, it's going to say who the characters would be. So we're going to speculate here a little bit. Do we think it's Golden Week? Will it be a joint celebration? Do we think it's going to have anything to do with the Dragon Ball superhero movie? Minato, let's start with you on this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's it's slightly a little early for Golden Week. My opinion, it could be Golden Week, right? My guess is that it'll be something related to the movie, like a mini Super Dragon Ball Hero, not Super Dragon Ball, a mini Dragon Ball superhero celebration, and maybe like a free to play Gamma 1 and 2 or something, right? I think that it might be something similar to that because they're not gonna drop a new banner before the sales ends, right? And the sales in global don't end until after the maintenance. That's on like the 26th or something. And if anything, the units might just be in that data download for global with the maintenance, right? It would make sense. So I don't think that it'll be like Golden Week same time or anything. I think that's still a couple of days away to even get the reveals. Usually the Golden Week celebration would start on like the 26th or the 28th or so, right?
Yeah, I think the units came out on the 28th last year.
Yeah, they did. So that's why I think it might just be an entirely separate thing. I don't know if it'll be same time for both versions or it'll be a global exclusive type of thing. Maybe it's like Raditz or something. Who knows, right? We don't know for sure. But I don't think it's gonna be a new character banner. I think it'll be some free to play units or something, right? We'll have to see. And it would be odd for them to start the celebration on the 24th, then drop the new units on like the 28th. I don't see that happening either. But
Well, the thing is,
yeah,
go
go
on,
ahead.
Gare.
Megan.
Well, I was going to say, the thing is, because I was double checking, because Luca Dokkan tweeted a thing a couple of days ago after the survey results came out. The time that they're saying that this information is going to come, so the 24th PST, there's a screenshot for Global. The 24th PST, if it's going to be released at around the time we normally see news, that's actually going to be the morning of the 25th for the UK. And on the morning of the 25th last year, that's when they posted a new Dokkan event is coming soon for GT
Yes.
Vegeta and GT Goku.
But-
So I think it is going to be Golden Week
No.
stuff.
because they say it's going to be celebration info.
Yeah.
Right,
Well, I
but
mean,
that's
they-
like,
Golden
what
Week
does that mean?
celebration
Like,
info.
a new
Yes.
Dokkan event is
Yeah.
coming for a character. That is celebration info, technically.
Yeah, I was about to say that's still.
No, they
I
mean the
they can-
celebration itself.
Well, we don't
right?
know that that's what they mean.
It
though.
says
That's
the
thing.
campaign. It says literally the next campaign.
Right, which
That's
could
what this-
start on the 28th, which is only a couple days away from that release of the information. So, I mean, it
But the
very
thing
well
is that-
could be.
Okay, wait 1 second, Minato. They're saying the information on the next campaign. It could just be like, oh, they're telling us some bits and bobs that are coming for the next campaign. It's not going to be the whole campaign info, right? It
Yeah.
could literally be like how they do a Dokkan now, and they show us like, oh, there's this easy area coming. Oh, this free to play unit is coming. Oh, these are the new units, and there you go, kind of thing, right? That's information on the next campaign. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the whole thing. So
Yeah, because you could argue that like that teaser that went into the news last year that was just like hey, a new Dokkan event is coming for GT Vegeta and GT Goku. You could argue that you could have said before that information on the next campaign is coming, and then that's what that is, because it's a piece of information about the next campaign. So I don't think it's necessarily confirmed, but the fact that they specified that date, which is when we got that reveal last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is the same kind of thing. But obviously we don't know. But
yeah,
So let's break it down. I'm just going to read it word for word because I think there are some things we can break down from it. So it says the information on the next campaign will be released on 4/24. So all it's saying right there is that information will be released. It doesn't mean a campaign is starting or anything. So it doesn't have to start on 4/24. It just means they're telling us information on that time. Then it says, who will the new characters be? And characters is in plural. So that means multiple new characters. Now it could be new just relative to global, so it could be something that's already on JP. Could be free to play. It doesn't mean it's Dokkan Fest. But to me, what it's telling me is we're getting info on the 24th. It's going to be about a new campaign, but it doesn't have to start that time. And there will for sure be multiple characters revealed. That's what I gather from it. I don't know if you guys are reading it differently than me, but to me, Golden Week could fit that because Golden Week is dual Dokkan Fest and characters plural would be 2. So I think that it could be a possibility in my opinion, but I could also see a mini Dragon Ball superhero movie thing, kind of like what they did with the Android 21 EZA. It could be a mini thing like that with the free-to-play Gamma 1 and 2. I could see that also.
Legends is also getting Gamma 1 and 2 soon, right?
Right.
That's another thing why I feel like we are getting superhero stuff soon for JP as well. Again, I'm pretty sure it'll be like not specifically related
And
to
there's
that, but we'll have to
Gamma
see.
1 and 2 Fusion as well, I believe that was revealed as well, that they can maybe do something with that. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think,
Did you?
I think Minato cut out, so I just jumped in right there.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's not impossible that Gamma 1 and 2 can happen. And I mean, it's especially like if it's anything like how, back in the day when we had the movie for Super Broly, right? The movie stuff in the game, we had that, couple of stages. You had the Jacket Goku and Vegeta, we had Broly and the Golden Frieza. I completely forgot what was the fourth unit, but we had those free to play units. I think it was only the Jacket Goku and Vegeta that had come out initially, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong though. But we could get something like that where we get just the initial couple of stages, maybe no story, because that's what they did. I think on global as well, they had no scenarios active for a certain period of time, so they could do something like that maybe and just give us Gamma 1 and 2 that way, probably.
Yeah, because they did with the Broly event. Didn't they do, like, they released, like, hey, here's the Dragon Ball Super Broly, but then it was just a raid and we didn't actually get the unit.
Yeah.
But they could do, like, a raid, and then maybe there's a free-to-play Gamma 1 and 2 we could earn or something. Like, it definitely could be something small like that, right? For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the fact that Legends have already announced that they're coming like to the game it does make me wonder, like, because we speculated when the movie got delayed, if it's like if they planned for Golden Week to be the movie stuff, we're assuming that means that they're just going to cancel it or whatever. But who knows? Maybe they are just going to drop movie stuff, which would be kind of crazy.
Right. All right, so I think we're pretty much running at the end of the main show here. Originally, we were not going to take a break because it was shorter, but we actually went like quite long here. So what are people's thoughts? Do you want to take a break? Do you want to move on the questions? Do we want to like just do a couple questions, or do we want to do all the questions? What do you guys want to do?
We don't need a break.
I don't think we need a break, and we can.
No break? Okay, are you guys good still covering all the questions, or do we want to just do a couple of them?
What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 questions?
Yeah, let's bang them out nice and quick.
We'll
let's
just,
go.
We can just go really quick with them, right? All right. So let's hop into our Twitter questions. So our first question comes from Abu Luck, and he asked, would Dokkan do another transforming character in the manner of the Frieza, Goku, and Vegeta, the ones that they transform every turn and they have 5 transformations? So let's just start with Ningen. How about everybody just pick one character that they think could do a 5 transformation unit on? Ningen, what do you think?
Let's go. Getting to go first, because the obvious answer is Cell. The only thing is, I don't know if this is the best thing to do again, because we saw, even with the Vegeta, who when he came out was arguably a lot better than Goku and Frieza, like, you only get those transformations for one turn, so their kits are not particularly like special in any way. They're just a slightly buffed version of the one before until you get to the final one. So now that we have units that transform via active skill and stuff like that, I don't really think they need to do a unit like this again. But in terms of multiple transformations, I think Cell's definitely a good candidate.
For sure. Gail, do you have any ideas?
Absolutely not. I mean, Cell is pretty much the obvious one. I mean, you could probably do something like a Buu, like, go from Majin Buu to Super Buu. Then maybe just throw in maybe like Buu Tanks, Buhan, and then Kid Buu, right? That's something they could do. But like Ningen said, I mean, these units I think they're past their time. They're they need to be sent to the old age home right now. I mean, even with their EZAs, the Goku and Frieza, they're good. I still use them in a lot of difficult content. At least the ones on global. I'm not sure how they fare in red zone, to be quite honest. But I still use them on global quite often here and there. And they're good, but would I want more of them? Not necessarily. I mean, I'd prefer if they would try and do them in different manners, maybe release them as solo units, because I'd like to see, a new first form Cell that's just first form Cell. I mean, we obviously have the Prime Battle version, but like, I'd like a first form Cell that's just there, I don't want to see him transform or anything. I mean, I know Toon would love that, but something along those lines.
Yeah, I could see, just because Cell was brought up, I could see Cell actually starting as like the bug form, like where he's just the insect, and then go first
Mhm.
form, second form, perfect form, and then perfect cell. I think that could be a set of 5 there. Joker, do you have any ideas for a transforming unit?
I mean, they could always do Gohan or Trunks and just put him through all their forms. Gohan going from like Saiyan Saga form all the way up to Ultimate Gohan or something. I know it wouldn't make a lot of sense, and the links would be horrendous, but it's a possibility.
Whoa.
Or you could go the way of like the GT Goku event where we get a new transforming Goku with just the GT version of it and not the blue version of it at the very end. That's always a possibility.
Yeah, that's a for sure.
Plus, they could always just do it for like a heroes card, because then obviously you can
Oh yeah,
throw in
then you
like
have 1,000 transformations.
yeah, like Vegito, and have him go from base like Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, and then Super Saiyan 4, which would be pretty
and then
crazy.
Limit Breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought of some oddball ones because, like, what if you did some with fusions? Well, like, if it was like a base Kel and Caulifla, and then they went Super Saiyan SS2 and then turned into Kefla and then Super Saiyan Kefla, like, that could be an option. I think Zamasu is kind of intriguing to me, where, like, it would start as Zamasu and then go Goku Black. It could even be like Goku Black in the Goku, you know, the Goku Black, and then go into real Goku Black and then Rose. You could do the Scythe Rose as a separate form. You could do. I know, so one of the things I was talking about were, like, I feel like they poorly name units. So they have Fusion Zamasu, but I feel like there's 2 Fusion Zamasus. There's, like, the normal Fusion, and then there's where he's, like, distorted or whatever, like, half his face is
Corrupted.
messed up. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they give them both the same name in Dokkan. They could have different names. And then we talked about Trunks. I feel like Spirit Swords Trunks needs to have a different name, and that could be a different fusion, but our transformation part of it. So, I don't know. I think something like that could be cool. I think we lost Minato, so
Yeah, he's
we
gone.
will... He's gone. That's okay. We'll just hop right into the next one here. So the next one is from Fake Joker. Ice Cold Joker, do you have any opinions on this? Do you,
What?
do you
What?
have an imposter out there? Yeah, we got a question from Fake Joker, so I don't know. Someone's trying to
where
impersonate
is
you
this?
out there.
Fake
Yeah, so-
Joker 5'9"? Are you serious right now?
Yeah. I don't know. You either have a fan or a stalker. I don't know which, but you got something going on here. So
How dare they?
So
They best
Fake
not have a
Joker-
slime channel.
No, wait,
Actually,
one second. I am so confused by this because Ningen and I have been around for like over a year with 5'9", and we don't have a stalker. I don't know whether to be happy about that or not, but you know.
Here's my theory.
How's this happen then?
My theory is Joker actually wanted to ask his own Twitter question, and he made an alternate account.
I
He
see
wants
it,
to
I see.
manipulate the podcast. He's trying to overtake the podcast.
Man, I would think of something much more witty than Fake Joker 5'9". Jesus.
Yeah, I know. So Fake Joker asks, I think that there is not a theme going on currently. What theme would you like to see them start in Dokkan?
Mhm.
I feel like a movies or Future Saga theme would be good just because there's a lot missing from there. I'll just jump in first really quick. I want a Dragon Ball Saga theme to get going and really push the Dragon Ball Saga. Start with the Kid Saga and then go into the World Tournament. I think would be really cool. Gail, what kind of theme would you like to see in Dokkan?
But first and foremost, Joe, don't you get Dragon Ball Saga every World Tournament though?
Oh
That's
dear
your
God! No!
celebration.
I want legit Dokkan Fest units. Like I want that Kid Goku to get
Yeah,
an
I know.
easy A. I want like a
Mhm.
Dokkan. If they did Dokkan Fest Videl, give me a Dokkan Fest Kid Bulma. Like give me something
Yep,
like that.
agreed.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. No,
Give it
I
to
think
me.
I think a Dragon Ball Saga is a great idea. I mean, considering the lack thereof, it would be fantastic. The one I would like the most, I mean, I would say movies we kind of had the more movie hero side of things, of course, leading into I would say the God Qs or the God Bros, I should say. GT has also had it, but more so Shadow Dragon Saga. I would say maybe like something like there's not much, to be quite honest. Maybe, I mean, Future Saga has obviously been mentioned. We haven't had anything from Future Saga in
Yep.
a long time, like a proper Future Saga theme going on, right?
Right.
Saiyan Saga has already had its course run, and it's been a disaster. It's not been the best, quite honestly speaking, but you know, it's been, I mean, they had some good units. I'd probably say something like, you know, let's go back to maybe something of the Cell Saga or Baby Saga, to be quite honest. I'd say Baby Saga more so, because I'd love a Dokkan Fest Baby Vegeta or a transforming SSJ3 Goku into Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Maybe like have a one-step Great Ape transformation, like one turn of Great Ape, and then when he reverts back, it's actually him going Super Saiyan 4, maybe. Something like that. Would love that maybe happening, but, you know, you lead into like some of the more boring stuff. Obviously, you'll have to get out of the way, some of the early Black Star Dragon Ball Saga, or you could just do Rildo and then just jump into Baby Saga, something like that. I don't know.
What are you talking about? We got Power Brothers, man.
Power Brothers.
The
yeah.
theme is starting. The theme is starting. Let's go. I mean,
That's
hey,
good.
who's next?
Joker, what theme do you want to see?
I kind of go along with Gale. I would like to see some more GT themed items, not from the Shadow Dragon saga. I know Ningen's foaming at the mouth for a redo of Super 17.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So the only real other arc they have would be the very beginning of GT. Saiyan Saga has run its course, and we know how that worked out. They apparently just refused to touch OG Dragon Ball,
Yeah, I
except
know.
for a rando
Trust-
unit here and there, and the World Tournament units, which are their own separate struggle. And other than that, I mean, we've pretty much gone through about everything in mainline Dragon Ball Z at this point over the past, like, what, year? We've gotten Buu units, we've gotten Namek units, we've gotten Saiyan Saga units, we've gotten Cell Saga units, so it's like, what else can we cover now?
Well, I don't
guess
think
Super.
Dokkan's allowed to release another Super 17 until they've done at least 5 more units that absorb super attacks. And then
that's right.
another 17 will come and not absorb super attacks. So, you know.
Have a chance to absorb super attacks.
The chance, yes. Ningen, how about you?
Well, I mean, I think to think outside the box a little bit, it doesn't necessarily, I don't think the theme has to be a specific saga. So, one thing that I would like to see, because I kind of speculated about possible design for like what Saiyan Day was going to be, I would kind of like to see a celebration with Super Saiyan 3 as the theme, because that team needs some buffs. Obviously, we did just get the Goku on Global, but remember that Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, whilst he is a crossover unit, is not considered a Heroes unit. So he did get a Dokkan Fest. The STR one is a Dokkan Fest exclusive. So we could get a new Dokkan Fest exclusive Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, get some easy A's for some of the Super Saiyan 3s, like the LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the free-to-play physical Broly, stuff like that. Like, I don't think it necessarily has to be a saga, yeah. So make like a theme around Super Saiyan 3. I think that'd be kind of cool. Or you could do that obviously for any form to buff like any particular team. I think that'd be quite cool.
Listen to this man saying Super Saiyan 3 isn't a good team when Heroes came.
I mean, it's better now, obviously, but ideally we need we need a Bardock Easy A or a new leader, and then that team will be cooking.
The Bardock Easy is going to be hype.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I know that we kind of said, movies has happened a bit, but to be fair, there's 2 movies that necessarily haven't gotten the most representation in recent years of Dokkan, and that's Battle of Gods and Res of F.
Yep.
So that's also there. You can throw in that into the mixer as well. Maybe something that could happen and possibly people want. I know a lot of people want. I personally am kind of like, it's all right. If you get it, nice for people. Otherwise, I don't care realistically. But I know a lot of people want it. So yeah.
For sure. All right, let's go on to the next question. Our next question comes from Thad. He says, who is the best yellow coin LR from 2021? And he posted a picture of future Gohan and Trunks. I'll jump in quick. As a global player, I'm just going to say God, Goku, and Hit. I know that JP has had some better ones, but I'm just going to go based on my experience and say God, Goku, and Hit. Ningen, who do you think is the best yellow coin LR from 2021?
I mean, LR Super 17, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Obviously.
All right.
With his hidden mechanic to absorb super attacks that they didn't type into their kit, right?
Yeah, exactly. He does it for me all the time as long as I'm not recording and no one's looking. So
for sure.
Yeah, no. I think because there's 3 pictured, it probably is got to be one of those 3, right? Like God, Goku, and Hit are super good, but they're not on a lot of teams. Funnily enough, I really, really like the in Vegeta exchange like to Goku unit. I remember, funnily enough, when they released the details for his kit, I was super unimpressed because his kit is like quote unquote boring. It is literally just he's got attack and defense. He gets more attack and defense when he attacks, and his super attack effect is that he gets more attack and defense. So there's nothing super crazy or interesting. But then once you actually use him in game and see the numbers that he puts out, like that unit is actually crazy, especially on the 200% team as well. So I do really like that unit.
For sure. Joker, do you have any comments on this one? Best yellow coin LR?
I mean, just to go off convention and not name the other guys, I'd say Janemba. Just because of, movie bosses needed a big time buff, and LR Janemba definitely brought that power. He is, a little overly restrictive in his passive, but he's still one of, if not the best defensive units in the game for difficult content because of, what he does. So I would put him up there.
For sure, and he's a very good defensive unit, and defense cannot be overrated. Gail, what do you think is the best yellow coin LR in 2021?
I will probably lean towards, I'd say, I mean, I know God Goku and Hit has been there, we've said Janemba, but I'd say Vegeta and Goku, probably, to be quite honest. I really like the look of them. I just pulled them on the New Year's banner, surprisingly, and I've been using them since. Really good unit, I must admit, especially on the 200% leader skill now. It's been good. It's been very, very good. So I'd probably take them, in all honesty, if you don't have them.
Yeah, and we don't have Minato here, but I'm sure Minato would throw out units like the Kaioken Goku and I think the new Goku Piccolo. I think they're definitely in that discussion. So people in chat are freaking out right now. Like, yes, we're aware of that.
Well,
we're just a bunch of global players right here, right?
Well, I think because the question was 2021.
Oh, I guess technically they're
so.
2022. You're right. You got me there.
And the only problem when it comes to answering questions like that is, I mean, for me personally, I can't remember exactly which ones were 2021.
I know. That's true. That's true. So, all right. Well, I think that is going to wrap up our show for today. This has been episode 79 of the Dokkan Battle podcast, literally just Pettan. I would like to thank all of my guests today. So we have Minato, Ice Cold Joker, Mass Ninja, and Gal Riot. Also, thanks to Vilify for helping out behind the scenes producing. My name has been Joe Wags. It has been an absolute pleasure hosting for you all today. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you all on the next one.